A Roman wife didn't legally belong to her husband's family. She belonged to her father even after marriage, even after having children. And that slave serving dinner, he might be a Roman citizen within 5 years, with his grandchildren eligible for the Senate. Roman family work nothing like ours, and understanding why changes everything about how we read ancient history. So how did this actually work? Let's start at the top of the Roman household. The Latin word familia didn't mean family. It meant the slaves and freedmen of a household, the staff, not blood relatives. The Roman household was a legal and economic unit, not an emotional one. At its apex sat the Paterfamilias, the oldest male head of household, wielding near absolute authority over everyone beneath him. This pyramid had strict tiers. The Paterfamilias held power of life, death, marriage, and property over his entire household. Below him, his sons, who remained under his legal control until he died, even as grown men. Then daughters, also under paternal authority. Below them, slaves, who were property but had a path to freedom. And at the base, freedmen and clients, citizens bound by obligation. Notice where wives appear. They don't. A wife legally remained in her father's household, not her husband's. This arrangement was deliberate. Consider a senator's daughter marrying into another powerful family. Her property, inheritance rights, and legal standing stay with her birth family. Rome's elite designed this to prevent any single household from accumulating too much power through marriage alliances. In practice, wives often managed their husband's household, but legally, they answered to their fathers. The system separated domestic function from legal authority. But here's where it gets interesting. This hierarchy wasn't static. It was designed to move people up. Most Roman slaves were eventually freed, and this was the expectation, not the exception. Slaves could accumulate money called the peculium, savings they kept upon freedom, and this wasn't charity, it was investment. A master who freed a loyal, capable slave gained something more valuable than property, a citizen who owed him everything and could operate independently. Here's the economic logic. Slaves couldn't sign contracts, borrow money, or legally represent anyone. Imagine a wealthy Roman who needs someone to manage imports at the port of Ostia, 30 miles from Rome, requiring daily legal transactions. A slave can't do this work. But free a trusted slave through manumission, the formal freeing process, and you create a freedman. A freedman can sign contracts, borrow and lend money, and has legal standing in courts, yet he remains bound as a client, loyal to his former master's household. The freedman uses his peculium to establish the business. The patron provides connections and protection. Freedmen were citizens if their master was one, but they carried social stigma. They couldn't hold office or marry into senatorial families. Their children, born after manumission, were different, fully free, no stigma, full rights, and their grandchildren, eligible for public office, even the Senate, 3 generations, from property to politician. This was the most reliable path to social mobility in the ancient world. The system created incentives at every level for masters to free productive slaves, for slaves to prove their worth. The patron-client system bound this all together. Patrons provided legal representation, jobs, business opportunities, and physical protection. Clients provided loyalty, political support, votes, and public displays of respect, including morning salutations at the patron's home. The Latin word fits, trust, loyalty, named the bond between them. This wasn't optional networking. Roman courts explicitly favored the wealthy. Judges assumed rich men had no reason to cheat. Without a patron, a free citizen was legally naked, vulnerable to exploitation by anyone with more resources. The patron-client system was Rome's social safety net and career ladder combined. This system didn't just shape Roman politics, it shaped how early Christians organized, worshipped, and understood themselves. Early Christian communities operated within this framework. House churches were literally households. When Paul writes to the household of Stephanas, he means slaves, freedmen, and clients gathering under one roof, not a nuclear family having dinner. The language of brothers and sisters was revolutionary precisely because it flattened this hierarchy. Calling a slave your brother violated every assumption about how Roman society worked. Patron-Client networks also explain Roman political instability. Ambitious politicians became patrons to the masses, building personal armies of obligation. When Julius Caesar distributed grain and the land to thousands, he wasn't being generous. He was creating clients who owed him loyalty over the state. The late Republic collapsed partly because individual patrons grew more powerful than institutions. The system's logic, protection in exchange for loyalty, echoes through history. Medieval feudalism, mafia structures, modern political machines. Anywhere formal institutions fail to protect ordinary people, patron-client relationships emerge to fill the gap. Let's crystallize what made this system distinctive. Roman familia meant household staff, not blood relatives. The wives belonged to their fathers' households, a deliberate check on power concentration. Slavery offered legal paths to citizenship through manumission and the peculium. Freedmen's children were fully free, grandchildren could hold office. And patron-client bonds weren't social niceties. They were survival necessities in a world where courts favored the wealthy. These arrangements seem bizarre until you understand the incentives. Then they reveal a society operating on completely different assumptions about family obligation and mobility. Rome didn't have a welfare state or universal rights. The patron-client system was how ordinary people survived and how extraordinary people rose. Understanding this changes how we read everything from Roman law to early Christian letters to the fall of the Republic. The Roman household wasn't a family. It was a corporation, a political machine, and a ladder all in one.